Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Jan Helfeld, and our guest is John Stossel, the host of The Stossel Show on the Fox Business News. Thank you for appearing on The Bottom Line, John.
Happy to be here.
As I mentioned, I've only waited 15 years for this interview, so I'm really happy that you agreed to do it, and I hope it.
Well, you came to me, was it 15 years ago?
Just about.
With these videos, and you were this weird guy pushing, what are you talking about? And yet you had these cool confrontations with politicians who just never thought about these ideas, and you aggressively hit them with it. I thought it was too aggressive for anything I could use on ABC at the time, where they had me in a straitjacket.
Okay, but you did an interview with Ted Turner that reminded me of my interviews.
Well, but I sat with him polite, and then I said, but what, I asked a few questions. You were much more aggressive, and I felt people wouldn't sit for me if I got a reputation for being as aggressive as you were. But you were right to be aggressive in asking those questions philosophically, and now the world has at least woken up to some of that.
So you think it's good to reveal contradictions in a politician's thinking? That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to the audience why that's so important?
Because they're full of it most of the time. And government grows and our freedom recedes.
And if they have contradictions in their thinking, they're necessarily mistaken, right?
And we ought to show it to the public that they are mistaken.
And one of the great things that I've learned doing this Socratic interviewing is that it creates great sound bites. So they say things that can make headlines for a TV show or for a newspaper or for whatever. Like, say, a politician will say that taxes are voluntary, or they'll say that, like I interviewed this Congressman John Connolly a few weeks ago, and he said that farm subsidies are not redistribution of wealth. I was referring to situations like the taxpayers are forced to pay for farm subsidies, for example. That's redistribution of wealth, right? So the taxpayers' money is taken in order to give it to the farmers, say, for not farming. Would you be in favor of that?
Well, I don't know that that is a redistribution of wealth.
Or another congresswoman who said that the farmers needed a safety net. So you're against redistribution of wealth, right?
Yes.
I thought so. Are you against farm subsidies?
No, I actually think that there is a safety net that is appropriate for our farmers.
Or Michael Steele, who said that people aren't forced to pay taxes, that they're voluntary.
Michael Steele said that?
He did. Well, when you tax somebody, you forcefully extract their money, right? Are taxes voluntary?
Yeah, you don't have to pay them.
Really?
You don't have to pay them.
If you don't pay your taxes,
You go to jail.
right?
You weigh that.
So
There's
you
a cause and effect.
So you think that they're voluntary? You think taxes are voluntary?
Everything in life is voluntary. You
Really?
don't have to do it. If you're true libertarian, you don't have to do anything since the government said it.
Well, let me ask you a question.
If you're willing to pay the consequence.
If an armed robber puts a gun to your head and says, "Give me your wallet,"
I don't have to give it to them.
and you give it to him, have you given it to him voluntarily?
Yeah, because I don't have to give it to them.
Well, these people are out to lunch.
Yeah, so I think that it has a great many values, not only the intellectual value that shows that they're necessarily mistaken, but also the dramatic value that you alluded to before, as well as the sound bites. So what do you think of the Socratic interviewing? Have you seen any of my stuff?
Yeah, I just
mean
said I watched that old.
14?
I have not seen it recently.
Okay.
And I'm not even familiar with the phrase the Socratic interview. Socrates believed in argument.
Well, let me explain that, because I think a lot of people have been asking me, what is the Socratic technique and how does it work? And the way it works is that every politician has a position on public policy. Say he's in favor of redistribution of wealth. And this position is based on a premise, because knowledge is hierarchical, right? So some conclusions depend on others. And I reveal a contradiction between one of his premises and another conclusion that he also holds. So in the case of Connolly, he believes that if you ask him straightforwardly, that the government should protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money, right? If you ask him that, he say, yeah, the government should do that. But then he doesn't realize that one of his premises that supports redistribution of wealth is that the government shouldn't protect the citizens against people that want to use force to take their money when they organize politically and they get the government to do it for them.
When they get a Democratic majority to put them in power.
Should the government protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money?
Sure.
Can you live well if other people can legally gang up on you and forcefully take your money?
I'm sorry?
Can you live well if other people can legally gang up on you and forcefully take your money?
I think you answer your own question in the way you formulate it, but of course not.
Okay. Previously, you had said that the government should protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money, right?
Well, I assume what you meant by that was somebody who was committing a criminal act.
Okay. So you think that the government should not protect peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money?
You know, Jan, I think this interview really has no longer served its purpose. But thank you.
Well, let's talk about something else.
I don't feel the need to do that.
Do you think
I've got other things to do, but thank you.
Do you think the questions were unfair?
I think the interview is inane.
So that would be a contradiction in their thinking that they're often really not even aware of.
Okay, that's good.
And so I think this offers a lot of value to the viewers, and not only does it offer intellectual value, but it's also entertaining.
I agree.
I'd love to do it for your show. Interview politicians here and get them to say great stuff like I just mentioned, or reveal the contradiction in their thinking, or even have some dramatic moments like you had with Ted Turner.
Well, look, I'm always open to having your stuff on my show. If you can show us a piece of videotape that is short enough to hold people's attention,
Right.
that reveals this contradiction
Right.
in a clear way, that isn't so obnoxious that it turns off the viewer.
Absolutely.
I'm always open to that.
Well, John, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about Socratic interviewing and whether you think it's a good idea for journalists to do Socratic interviewing, and whether it has any value for a great show like the one you do. You yourself do some Socratic interviewing. I've seen it.
I never thought of it as Socratic, but I just
Okay.
do what I think works.
Excellent.
Jan, it is nice to see you
Thank
again.
you, and thank you again for doing the interview.
Sure.